Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Extension Development Studies, SOEDS, Master of Arts Urban Studies, MAUS, Second Year, MEDS 047 Ecology, Environment and Urban Development, Block-1 Key Environmental Issues, Unit-2 Ecological Foundations of Basic Human Needs, 2.0 Introduction. As we know, we have already 7 billion in number in the year 2011 in this limited space of the earth. Again, if we look into the differences among ourselves, there are more than 1 billion without proper food security. Unfortunately, the larger number of human without proper food security is in the region where the rich in biodiversity is. Even in the presence of high biodiversity, poverty and environmental degradation is born together as complexity in nature in these regions. In other side of the world, we are in a lavish style supported by technology-driven economy. Why do we have these differences in the same land, the world as a family? Do we need to have different basic needs? Let's ask ourselves, what actually we, the human species, needs for our survival. In this new world with full of challenges to sustainability, a clear-cut definition of basic human needs will help in developing more tenable pathways of sustainable survival of the future generations of the humans as well as all other species on planet Earth. Also, in a world divided into developed and developing categories, both the goals and approaches of achieving sustainability would naturally vary enormously. Over a period in the human history, a transition from need to greed has taken place. As has been well stated by Mahatma Gandhi, the earth provides for basic human needs and not for greed. The humans need to have a self-understanding on what actually the basic needs we required. Hence, let's try to understand some of the proposed principle by different authors around the world on what actually the need. We shall consider in the following sections Maslow's hierarchy of needs vis-a-vis sustainability hierarchy of Marshall and Toffel. We shall also briefly consider human scale development approach as well as dynamic interrelationship between needs, satisfiers and the economic goods. 2.1 Objectives. After reading this unit, you will be able to times identify widely varying needs of the human beings, times establish linkages between basic needs for human survival and well-being of the ecosystems, and times analyze the relationships among major human needs, natural resources, and well-functioning of ecological systems. 2.2 Human needs and approach. It is an urgent task to draw a clear distinction between the essential needs of the humans and other forms of life for their survival and the inessential needs with a view to restrict the usage of the word sustainability to refer to conserving and enhancing those natural resources without which the present and the future generations would not be able to survive. 2.2.1 Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs and related approaches. A little over 2 decades prior to Brundtland Commission report, 1987, Abraham Maslow, an American psychologist, in his book Motivation and Personality recognized a hierarchy of needs consisting of 5 levels. These needs at 5 levels are presented in a pyramid model below. See Fig.1.1. Look at the screen. Maslow's hierarchy of needs states that we must satisfy each need in turn, starting with the first, which deals with food, the most essential need, without which one cannot survive. Only when the lower needs of physical and emotional needs are satisfied, there grows desire for higher order needs of influence and personal development. In other words, the biological and physiological needs are the primary needs, without which other needs become irrelevant. At the apex is the self-actualization, which represents the personal growth and self-fulfillment of a personality. It also implies that if the things that satisfy our lower-order needs are destroyed, there is no question of any concern for self-esteem, belongingness, safety and self-actualization. According to this model, fulfillment of biological and physiological needs is the most fundamental aspect of development. The sustainable development should indeed address these with high priority, especially when the finite resources are substantially degraded. This consideration is quite important for India, where over 300 million people have no food security and about 700 million people do not have balanced diet. For these people, who have no guaranteed food security to meet the biological and physiological needs, basic, level 1, there is just no concern for safety, love, esteem and self-actualization needs. The point is that when a lower, basic, level needs are fulfilled, a person moves on to the next higher level. More recently, cognitive, aesthetic and transcendence needs have also been added to Maslow's original 5-stage model of hierarchy of needs. This is shown in Figure 1.2. Fig. 2.2, Maslow's 8-stage hierarchy of needs. Look at the screen. Several theorists on needs who have adopted Maslow's ideas to conflict theory, however, perceive human needs in a different way, as an emergent collection of human development essentials. Furthermore, they contend that needs do not have a hierarchical order. Rather, needs are sought simultaneously in an intense and relentless manner. The needs theorists, proposed by different authors, consider the following as essential needs of the humans: times safety security, the need for structure, predictability, stability and freedom from fear and anxiety, times belongingness, love, the need to be accepted by others and to have strong personal ties with one's family, friends, and identity groups, times self-esteem, the need to be recognized by oneself and others as strong, competent, and capable. It also includes the need to know that one has some effect on his environment, times personal fulfillment, the need to reach one's potential in all areas of life, times identity, goes beyond a psychological sense of belief. The human needs theorists define identity as a sense of self in relation to the outside world. Identity becomes a problem when one's identity is not recognized as legitimate, or when it is considered inferior or is threatened by others. With different identifications, times cultural security is related to identity, the need for recognition of one's language, traditions, religion, cultural values, ideas, and concepts, times freedom is the condition of having no physical, political, or civil restraints, having the capacity to exercise choice in all aspects of one's life, times distributive justice is the need for fair allocation of resources among all members of a community, times participation is the need to be able to actively partake in and influence civil society. Finally, it should also be pointed out that there are arguments for and against the human needs approach. Times the arguments for the human needs approach is that problem-solving and conflict-resolving endeavors also analyze the fundamental causes of conflict while maintaining a focus on fulfilling people's unmet needs. Human needs theorists further appreciate that, although needs cannot be compromised, they can be addressed in a generally win-win or in some other positive way. Times arguments against the human needs approach center around many questions and uncertainties. Some of the questions are whether human needs are universal or cultural, whether some needs are more important, and how to identify the unmet needs. The other major uncertainty is the distinction between needs and interests. Often, the needs, identity, security, freedom and interests i.e. resource allocation, international boundaries, are both involved. Consequently, even if the needs of both parties get met, the conflict will probably not be resolved. To point to human-scale development approach, a new dimension to the perspective of human needs was evolved by Max Neef Manfred, a Chilean ecological economist, and his team. In this approach, the human-scale development lays strong emphasis on the role of human creativity in development and argues that the purpose of the economy is to serve the people, and not the people to serve the economy. It is based on the satisfaction of fundamental human needs, on the generation of growing levels of self-reliance, and on the construction of organic articulations of people with nature and technology, of global processes with local activity, of the personal with social, of plan with autonomy, and of civil society with the state. Human needs, self-reliance and organic articulations are the important components of the human-scale development approach. This theory rests on three important postulates. 1. Development is about people and not about objects. 2. Fundamental human needs are finite, few and classifiable. 3. Fundamental human needs are the same in all cultures and in all historical periods. What changes, both over time and through cultures, is the way or the means by which needs are satisfied. While Maslow's hierarchy of needs is based on psychological perspective, the human-scale development approach has built a theory of needs on a social perspective. It points out that needs are finite and same for all cultures. What distinguishes the culture is the manner in which the needs are satisfied. Thus, the satisfier for the same need may vary from culture to culture. Economic goods are the objects or artifacts which affect the efficiency of the satisfies. There is a dynamic relationship between needs, satisfiers, and the economic goods. For analytical purpose, the human-scale development approach classifies needs according to the existential and axiological categories. Existential categories are based on the experiences relating to the needs. Axiological categories are based on the value assigned by an individual or society to different needs. The needs have been broadly divided into 9 axiological categories of subsistence, protection, affection, understanding, participation, idleness, creation, identity, and freedom. The existential categories are being, having, doing, and interacting. Being refers to personal or collective attributes. Having deals with norms, institutions, mechanisms, non-material tools, laws, etc. Doing is related to personal or collective action. Interaction is the spatial-temporal context. These are presented in the following Table 1.2. Table 1.2 Needs and Satisfiers, Human-Scale Development Approach. Look at the screen. The matrix of satisfiers shows various types of satisfiers which are used to fulfill different categories of needs. According to Max Neef et al., 1989, satisfiers are what render needs historical and cultural, and economic goods are their manifestation. 2.3 Human ecology and basic human needs. Human ecology is the study of relationship between humans and nature, connected in a web of interactions. As different communities, cultures, and societies develop, they evolve distinctive sets of norms, values, and goals in relation to nature, so that adaptations, collaborations, and conflicts among those human individuals and groups also contribute to the web of interactions that impact on the environment. Human ecology describes not only the influence of humans on their environment, but also the influence of the environment on human society and its adaptive strategies. In order to fulfill the different types of needs, humans have to use their labor, upon nature and attempt to change it. In the process of acting upon nature and environment, the humans get involved in the interaction process with other human beings and gradually a complex society is evolved. Hierarchy emerges with relations of domination and subordination, and institutional systems are formed to reinforce a hierarchy. In Marxist perspective, the economic process is the infrastructure and other subsystems such as culture. Religion form the superstructure. Thus humans engage themselves in social production. There are two fundamental processes which characterize the ecology of human social systems. 1. Humans appropriate materials from environment and then they alter and circulate them through social relations. 2. They accord such materials with value which affects the dynamics of the objective process of appropriation, alteration and circulation. These processes can be viewed from Maslow's hierarchy of needs or human scale development approach. The food consumed in a high-value hotel, star hotel, does not merely fulfill a subsistence, basic need alone. It also fulfills needs of identity, participation, status, etc. In this case, the value of the food is socially and culturally constructed, which in turn meets certain higher levels of needs. Economists talk about Veblen effect, in which for certain commodities demand increases when the price increases. The increase in demand is due to social status or exclusiveness of the product. Food in exclusive hotels, high-value cars, clothes, jewelries, etc. belong to this category. In contrast, the proportion of income spent on food is always high among poorer households. This expenditure is mainly for calories and subsistence needs. The proportion spent on food is called as Engel coefficient. Engel coefficient. This index is used worldwide to indicate standard of living. When a country or region has an Engel coefficient of 40% or lower, it is considered rich. This indicates that as and when the economic conditions improve, the proportion of income spent on subsistence decreases, and the proportion of income spent on satisfiers to meet other needs increases. Such behavior of the society in appropriating the environment to meet the different types of needs have strong ecological consequences. 2.4 Sustainability hierarchy, linking the real issues related to survival and continuation of generations of life forms with the resources required for survival and reproduction should be the primary theme of sustainability. Sustainability of rights, freedom, etc. has no meaning when no little access to food threatens very survival. Such an approach has become necessary in the present scenario of a definitional chaos that has nearly rendered the term sustainability meaningless and got it disconnected from the most serious concern of environmental degradation. A corporate definition of sustainability as a business approach that creates long-term shareholder value by embracing opportunities and managing risks deriving from economic, social and environmental developments is not the part of sustainable rural development that should link rural livelihoods with ecological security in a mutually reinforcing manner. Incidentally, this corporate approach might help in the fulfillment of all personal values and aesthetic preferences of the shareholders and shareholders only. It excludes all others who are not shareholders and has little concern for the integrity of the ecological foundations and most basic needs of over 1 billion people of our planet. It has no consideration for the other living beings constituting the biosphere. Developing a premise or base for achieving a more desirable community with long-term economic viability has little to do with intergenerational equity or future generations' needs and abilities to sustain their survival in order to frame an elusive concept of sustainability. Julian D. Marshall and Michael W. Toffel, 2005, have developed a sustainability hierarchy. These 4 levels are times level 1, actions that if continued at the current or forecasted rated, endanger the survival of humans, times level 2, actions that significantly red health indicators, times level 3, actions that may cause species extinction or that violate human rights, times level 4, actions that reduce quality of life or are inconsistent with other values, beliefs, or aesthetic preferences. This sustainability is analogous to the hierarchy of needs described by Maslow, which establishes that humans are motivated by unsatisfied needs, and that certain lower needs must be first satisfied before higher needs can be. In the sustainability hierarchy, basic environmental sustainability forms the foundation. Level 1 and successive levels refer to increasingly higher order sustainability needs that incorporate health, quality of life, and value-laden concerns. This provides for characterizing an action as sustainable or unsustainable. The figure 1.3 below illustrates the actions at 4 levels in the sustainability hierarchy. Look at the screen. Fig. 1.3 Sustainability Hierarchy. After Marshall and Toffel, 2005, finally, it is necessary to understand that species extinction, level 3, can quite drastically reduce food security and endanger survival of humans, level 1. On the contrary, changes in values, beliefs, and aesthetic preferences are most unlikely to endanger the sustainable survival of humans. The same holds true for what all are put under the so-called sustainable shareholder value, sustainable management systems, etc. 2.5 Equity, basic needs, and ecology. Poverty and deprivation are the result of uneven distribution of wealth and resources. Not all the individuals have the same level right of access to the resources of which food, fresh and clean drinking water, and shelter are most essential needs for survival. What this means is that poor have no access with equal rights for basic human needs elaborated in both the hierarchy of needs of Maslow and the sustainability hierarchy of Marshall and Toffel. That inequity does not enable sustainable development is evident from the fact that wealth of a nation does not correspond to the number of people or proportion of a population suffering from hunger. In other words, equity is very much essential for achieving sustainable development rather than equality. Do you know the difference between equity and equality? In similar term, equity refers to the qualities of justness, fairness, and impartiality, whereas equality refers to exact division or equal sharing. Let's try to understand it in terms of food shortage as hunger index. It is a tool to measure the discomfort associated with lack of food. Hunger. FAO 2011 defines food deprivation or undernourishment specifically as the consumption of fewer than about 1,800 kilocalories a day, the minimum that most people require to live a healthy and productive life. Global Hunger Index. It is a tool designed to comprehensively measure and track hunger globally and by region and country. It combines the three major indicators, i.e. undernourishments, child underweight, and child mortality, equally weighted to reflect the multidimensional nature of hunger. The table 1.3 shows that in spite of higher GDP per capita, India has a higher hunger index and it ranks 66 out of 88 developing countries. These data reveal the extent of inequity in the society. Basic need of subsistence is a major issue for substantial proportion of Indian population. Inequity is also reflected in the gender terms. Women have lesser access to natural resources, food and nutrition. India's population is expected to be around 1.4 billion to 1.5 billion in 2020. India would need to produce 270 to 280 million tons of cereal grains from the present production level of about 210 million tons per annum. This is indeed a major challenge since land for cultivation is a rapidly shrinking resource, as also fresh water for irrigation. In addition, global warming-related climate change is also emerging as a major threat to crop productivity. Diversion of forestland for agriculture is not a sustainable solution since it would cause several erosion of biodiversity and diminish ecosystems services to humankind. For these reasons which threaten our civilization and very survival, the integrity of the ecological foundations of agriculture should be fixed as the cornerstone of all development plans. 2.6 Summary. An understanding of the ecological foundation of basic needs for survival is necessary to define the path of sustainable development. This unit has discussed not only Maslow's hierarchy of needs at 5 levels, but also the newly introduced concept of sustainability hierarchy that more emphatically addresses what actions are conducive to achieve sustainable development at which levels. Sustainable development is not solely determined or driven by GDP. What is more crucial is the equity in social, gender, and economic dimensions. Equity with reference to access to balanced diet and clean drinking water is as essential as are the natural resources for the sustainable survival of human species. The attributes such as human rights, values, preferences, etc. are not only constantly changing but also fall outside of the premise of the pathway to achieving sustainable development. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video with next chapter.